Hi there smart monks and welcome to my channel. If you've been here before, welcome back. This is my little platform where I turn struggling math students into maths masters, and I post videos weekly, so subscribe and turn on the notification button if you want to know when I post any new videos. So in this video I'm going to be teaching you how to factorize using the highest common factor. Okay, this is the first type of factorizing that you need to know, and I'm going to show you how to do that, and I try to break it down into simple steps that you can actually apply and remember when actually doing it in a test or an exam situation. Okay, in my description box below you can find a link to a worksheet that you can practice with the answers, and then you can also find a link to all of my other videos on my website. Okay, if those are not there yet, please bear with me. I am in the process of getting that finalized, and as soon as I'm done, I will post it and add the links. Okay, so without further ado, let's jump into this video. Okay, so this is our lesson on algebra, factorization, finding the highest common factor. Okay. But before we start, I'd like to make sure that you guys understand what the difference is between simplifying and factorizing, and so that when the question in any test or an exam situation says simplify, you know that you need to do this, and if it says factorize, you know you need to do this, just because very often I find that you guys don't know really the difference between the two. So I just want to sort of help you understand how this works. So when we simplify, let's say let me give you a simple example. If I said 6 multiplied by 3, right? That answer is 18. So the answer of 18 is considered your simplified form. Okay? But when they ask you to factorize, they essentially will give you the answer and ask you to put that answer in its factors. So that means that the 6 multiplied by 3 would be considered the factorized form. Now let's see how this works with algebra. So let's say I have 4 times x plus 2. Now, with our simplification knowledge, we know that we would say 4 times x and then 4 times 2. So that would give us 4x plus 8, right? So the small arrow is 4 times x gives me 4x, and then 4 times 2 gives me 8. So 4x plus 8 now is the simplified form because we found the answer. We got rid of the bracket, right? Now, when we're asking you to factorize, what we are going to do is we'll give you the answer again. And you have to take out the highest common factor, which in this case is 4, and then have x plus 2. So this now is the factorized form. So you see in the one, you are being given the factorized form and asked to simplify. And in the other one, we are giving you the answer and asking you to put it in its factors. So what we're focusing on in this lesson is this last bit that I showed you. How to take out the highest common factor so that you actually have factorized the expression. Okay, so let's see how we do this. So we're going to first look at 2 examples, and ideally what we need to do here is we need to take out the question will say factorize. Okay, so we would look at this and we'll look for a highest common factor, right? So if I see 5x plus 10, what I'll do is I will look for 2 things. I will look for the highest number that is a factor in both terms, and then I will look for a common variable with the lowest power. Now let's look at the first one. The highest number that is a factor in both terms. So if I look at both of these terms, what is the highest number that can go into both of these numbers? That's 5. Okay? Then if I look at the variables and I see, okay, what is the variable that's common, in other words, in all the terms with the lowest power? If I look at these terms, there is no variable that's common, in other words, in all the terms. So there isn't a variable to take out. So we're only going to take out the 5. Because the 5 is the highest number. So this is essentially your criteria to choosing your highest common factor. Now I have my highest common factor, which is 5. So to find what I put in the bracket, I'm going to take each term and divide it by my highest common factor. And then the answers I'm going to put in a bracket. So let me show you what I mean. I'm going to say 5x divided by 5, so the first term divided by my highest common factor, and that will give me x. And the second term, which is the 10 and I divided by 5, and that will give me 2. So this x and this 2 is now what goes in my bracket. So the factorized form of this expression is then 5 open bracket, x plus 2. Now, how do we know that we are done factorizing? A nice way to know that you are done is if you have no pluses or minuses outside a bracket. Okay, now let's look at B. 20x squared plus 10x. So again, we're looking for the highest number that is a factor in both terms. So I've got two terms here. What is the highest number that can go into both? That's 10. Okay. Then I look at the variables. Common variable with the lowest power. So I see I have x in both of the terms. So I know that it's common. But I take the one with the lowest power. Okay. So then that means that my highest common factor is then 10, which is the highest number, and then the variable which is common with the lowest power. Now again, I take each term and I divide it by the 10x. So 20x squared divided by 10x, 20 divided by 10 is 2, x squared divided by x is x. Then I've got 10x divided by 10x, anything divided by itself, the answer is 1. So that means that in the bracket now, I have 2x plus 1. Now, if this answer was a negative 1, then it would have been negative 1. Okay, so this one's power will always determine if you divide, you will always include the power so that you actually know what signs you must have inside your bracket. Okay, so those are the first two examples. Let's do a few more examples and then we'll give you some to try on your own. Okay, as you will see, these get a little bit more and more difficult, but you'll see that the steps remain the same. So if I look at C now, okay, so I see that in these three terms that the 3 is common, but also I've got a Q in each of the terms. So that is then my highest common factor, 3Q. Right, then I take each term divided by 3Q. So we've got 3 terms in this expression, and each of them are divided by the 3Q, and then the answer is what I get in my bracket, 2p plus r minus 3. Okay, let's look at this next one. In the next one, okay, so let's look at the next one. Here I've got, okay, so let's look at the next one. Here I've got, if I look at all of these, I see, okay, the highest number, negative 4. I've got an a in each of them, with the lowest power is just a to the 1. I've got a b in each of them, and the highest power, and the lowest power, sorry, is b to the 1. So that means I'll take out negative 4, a, b. Okay, again, I take out the number that's common, the highest number that's common, and then I look at the variables and I take out the variables that's in each of the terms to the lowest power. Now that I have the highest common factor, I take each term and I divide it by that highest common factor. So I go first one, minus 4ab to the 3 divided by minus ab. So the 4's cancel, the a's cancel, and I'm just left with b to the 2. Same with negative 8a3b over here, divided by negative 4. A tip that I always teach my students is use sign, number, letter when you are dividing to help you find out what the answer is. So if I look at this, I go sign, so negative divided by negative is a positive. Then I go number, 8 divided by 4 is 2. And then I go variables, the b cancels, and I'm left with a3 divided by a1, which gives me a2. Okay, so that's sign, number, letter for each of them. So now that I have the answers, I can just put it in the brackets. Okay, now let's look at E. Now E, you are going to see that x plus 1 is now what is common. So you can see that sometimes it's not just the numbers, it is an expression that can be common as well, but you would treat it exactly the same. So again, I look at the numbers, here's 4 and here's an n, so there's no numbers to take out, but there is an x plus 1 that is common in both. And so that means I can take out the x plus 1. But just like I did with all the previous questions, I take each term and I divide it by the highest common factor. So the first one is 4x divided by x plus 1. The x plus 1's cancel and I'm just left with 4. Then I have the n x plus 1, and I divide that by x plus 1, and I get n. So what am I left with? I'm left with the 4 and the n, and that's what goes in my bracket. So this factorized is equal to this form. And take note here, I've got pluses and minuses are all in the bracket. This is actually just a minus to say that this is a negative value. This isn't this isn't representing you subtracting something. Okay, so over here, I know that I'm done when all my pluses and minuses are inside brackets. Okay, now let's look at the last one. Now here, I have a number that's common and I have a variable, but now I've got a power to this. So we again work the same. We take out a number that's the highest number that's common. So in this case, it's 4. And then I've got x plus 2, which now acts as one term, right? And here we take it with the lowest power. Okay, so the lowest power is just 1. So that's how we do it. We take 4x plus 2, okay, to the power of 1. And then I take each term and I divide it by that highest common factor. And then what's left, I put inside the bracket. But now we want to get rid of the brackets that are inside brackets, okay? So have a look here. When we simplify this, the 8 divided by 4 is 2, and then the x plus 2 squared over x plus 2. There's one of the x plus 2's cancel, and I'm left with only one x plus 2. But here now, we have a bracket inside the bracket if we just write the answers as is. So we want to multiply this bracket out by saying 2 times x and 2 times 2, which will then give me 2x times 4 plus 1. And then here I can add the 4 and the 1 together because they're like terms. So my final answer when factorizing and taking out the highest common factor for f is 4x plus 2, 2x plus 5. And I know I'm done because all my pluses and minuses, all my sums, all my terms are inside brackets. Okay, and that's how you do highest common factors. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to ask you to pause this video and write down these questions and take out the highest common factor for me for these 6 questions. Once you're done, you can then play the video and then see and mark your answers to see how well you did. Okay, so let's see how you did and take out a pen, mark your answers and pay attention to where you went wrong or places where you're making your mistakes. So at the first one, if I factorize that, I end up with 2x plus 3x, 2x, and then in brackets 3x minus 4. For the second one, I've got 5x squared y squared, which was common, and then what is left in the bracket is 5x plus 1. And then I've got the third question, the common variable is only x because there isn't a y in all of the terms and it's to the lowest power. And again, what I'm left with in brackets is x squared minus xy plus y squared. Then for D, we take out 2xy and then what's left in the bracket is x plus 2y. For E, we have 2 times 2x plus 1, right? So the highest common factor is 2, but when we divide each of it, then this is your answers. But now remember, we want to get rid of the bracket that's inside the bracket. So we multiply it out by saying 2x plus 2. But then we can also further simplify that. So that ends up with 2 and 2x plus 3. Okay, let's look at the last question. Hopefully you got this one right. So let's see. The highest number you could take out here was 8. And then you took out x minus 3 to the power of 2 because that's the lowest power. And then when you divide each term, you end up with 1 plus 2 x minus 3. Again, we want to get rid of the brackets that's inside brackets. So we multiply the 2x times the minus 3, and that will give me 2x minus 6. And then my final answer is 8, x minus 3 squared, 2x minus 5. So hopefully you got it right. If you didn't, don't be discouraged. The whole idea of this is to find out where you're making your mistakes, and then by the sections that you did make a mistake, just pay attention to where you're going off and try to remember to not repeat those mistakes in a test or an exam situation. Okay, so that concludes our lesson on how to factorize using the highest common factor. Alright, so there's that video. Hopefully you found it helpful. If you did, please give it a thumbs up. If you have any questions, please add it in the comment section below. Or if you have any comments or recommendations for future videos, please also share that in the comment section below. Remember to check out the worksheet in the description as well as the other videos on my platform. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye guys.